Hello everyone, today we are going to study the summary of Obituary by A.K. Ramanujan. Obituary is written by A.K. Ramanujan and he wrote this poem on his father. Let's begin. Father, when he passed on, left dust on table of papers, left dead and daughters, a bedwetting grandson, named by the toss of a coin after him. Here the poet is saying that his father, when he died, he left the dust on the table of papers. He left the debt. He had debt on him, and he had daughters. He left behind his daughters after him, and a bedwetting grandson, a baby grandson of him he left behind him, and the name of the grandson was named after him, and by the toss of a coin. A house that leaned slowly through our growing years on a bent coconut tree in the yard. Being the burning type, he burned properly in a cremation. Here the poet is saying that he had a house that was leaning towards the coconut tree. That coconut tree was in their yard, in their garden, and his father was very furious, very burning type, and he was very strict, and as he was very furious, he burned properly in the cremation. When he was on his pyre, he burned properly. That poet is saying that his father burned properly as he was already a burning type. As before, easily and at both the ends, left his eye coins in the ashes that didn't look one bit different. Several spinal disc, rough, some burned to coal for sons. Here the poet is saying that his father burned easily and his eyes were left in the ashes, and those eyes didn't look different. They were same as when he was alive, and several spinal discs were visible, and some were burned and some were not burned, and those burnt into coal were left for sons to pick gingerly, and those spinal discs and his bones were left for his sons. The ceremony after his death, to pick gingerly and throw, as the priest said, facing east where three rivers met near the railway station. No long standing headstone with his full name and two dates. Here the poet is saying that they will collect and pick the bones from his pyre, and from his ashes, and throw the bones and the ashes facing east, as the priest will say, as this is the ritual in Hindu tradition, and they will throw these ashes in the river where the three rivers meet, and those rivers are near railway station, and after the death there is here the poet is saying that he will not get the long standing headstone that usually people built for the expired ones. They write their name and their birth date and the date they died, and the poet is saying that he will not make this for his father. To holding their parenthesis, everything he didn't quite manage to do himself, like his Caesarean birth in a Brahmin ghetto and his death by heart failure in the fruit market. The poet is saying that to holding their parenthesis means when the stone is built for the dead ones, and the extra information is also written about the personality and the information about that person. Uh, he will not get that privilege. Everything he didn't quite manage to do himself. His father didn't quite manage to do anything. He's saying about his father, like his Caesarean birth in a Brahmin ghetto, and his delivery was not normal, but a doctor did a Caesarean surgery to get him out of his mother's womb. He said that, the poet is saying this about his father, that he didn't come out on his own, and his death by heart failure in the fruit market, and he died by heart failure in the fruit market. But someone told me he got 2 lines in an inside column of a Madras newspaper sold by the kilo exactly 4 weeks later to a street hawker. Here the poet is saying that though his father got 2 lines inside the newspaper, those 2 lines were written after his death, and those lines are usually called obituary, about what the poem is all about. He wrote obituary, and the newspaper is sold by kilo exactly 4 weeks after his death. 4 weeks later, into the street hawkers. Street hawkers used to sell that newspaper in kilo, who sell it in turn to the small groceries where I buy salt, coriander, and jaggery in newspaper cones that I usually read. And those street hawker usually sell those newspaper to the small grocery owners, and they sell the salt and coriander and jaggery in those newspaper to the people who buy. And the poet is saying that when he takes that material from the grocery shop, he usually read that newspaper on which the uh, material is given for fun and lately in the hope of finding these obituary lines. And he left us a changed mother and more than one annual ritual. Here the poet is saying that he usually read those newspaper for fun, but now he is very eagerly searching and reading the newspaper for to uh, he is expecting that maybe he will read his father's obituary lines one day. And he left us a changed mother, and his father left us a changed mother who changed after his death, and more than one annual ritual, and one annual ritual which is performed in Hindu tradition after the person's death, and he left that annual ritual for them. So guys, this was it, and this was the summary of Obituary by A.K. Ramanujan. And thank you for watching this to the very end. Please like, share and subscribe to this video.